My name is Cassandra Vale. I was 31 years old when my boyfriend looked me in the eyes 4 months before our wedding and said, "We either open this relationship or there is no wedding." I remember the room more clearly than I remember his face. The half-packed box of wedding favors near the couch, the cream envelopes stacked on the dining table, the sample ribbon from the florist lying beside my coffee mug like some tiny, stupid promise. I had been comparing catering menus that afternoon. Circling chicken or salmon like that was the hardest decision waiting for me. Then Mason sat me down. Mason Reed was 29. We had been together for 4 years. Engaged for 1. And until that Friday night, I thought I knew the shape of my future. I thought I knew his laugh, his habits, the way he tapped his thumb on the steering wheel when he was nervous. I thought I knew what silence meant between us. Classic mistake. He came into the living room with that serious look people wear when they have already rehearsed the damage. He didn't sit beside me. He sat across from me, elbows on his knees, hands folded, like he was about to offer mercy. "Yes," he said, soft and heavy. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." I closed my laptop halfway. About the wedding, about us, about marriage, about what I need to feel fulfilled. The word fulfilled landed strangely. Not wrong. Exactly. Just staged. I waited. Mason loved dramatic pauses when he thought he was being profound. "I want an open relationship." I blinked once, then again, come again. "An open relationship," he repeated. Slower. Like I was unfamiliar with English. Ethical non-monogamy. It's very common now. Very healthy for modern couples. "Mason, our wedding is in 4 months." "Exactly." He leaned forward and reached for my hands. "Before we commit to forever, I need to know I won't feel trapped, restricted. I need freedom to explore connections if they arise naturally." I looked down at his fingers wrapped around mine, and suddenly felt like I was watching a stranger borrow my boyfriend's body. "So you want to date other women?" "We would have the freedom to date other people," he corrected quickly. "If the opportunity presents itself." It's not about actively seeking it out. It's about being open to life's possibilities. I pulled my hands back. "And if I say no?" For half a second, his face hardened. There he was. Not enlightened. Not gentle. Just ready. "Then there's no wedding," he said. The apartment became very quiet. "You would cancel our wedding because I want monogamy in our marriage." He sighed, like I was disappointing him. "I can't marry someone who wants to control me." Control. That word told me everything. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "Either we open the relationship, or you call off the wedding. I need to know you respect my autonomy." Here was the thing about Mason. For the last 6 months, he had been drowning himself in self-discovery podcasts. Men in linen shirts talking about masculine freedom. Influencers who used words like expansion, alignment, sovereignty, and energetic honesty while selling courses for $499. Then came his Thursday night men's growth circle. A group that met in the back room of some wellness studio and apparently taught grown men how to make selfishness sound spiritual. Before that group, Mason said things like, "I'm tired," and "What's for dinner?" After that group, he said things like, "I'm honoring my inner truth." But the real clue had a name, Stella. She was from his pottery class. At first, she was just this woman from class who throws amazing bowls. Then she became Stella, says relationships shouldn't be cages. Then Stella thinks jealousy is just fear wearing a mask. I had never met her, but somehow, her fingerprints were all over my life. "So this is about Stella," I said. His jaw tightened. "This is about me." Funny, because it sounds exactly like Stella. God. Cassandra. Try to evolve a little. There it was again. That tone. Not anger yet. Something worse. Pity. I sat there looking at the man I had planned to marry. 4 years. Deposits paid. Families invited. My mother had already bought her dress. His parents had already booked flights. We were 2 Fridays away from finalizing the catering, and Mason had chosen that moment to tell me forever. Was conditional, okay? I said. His face changed so quickly it almost made me laugh. Really? Oh. Baba. He reached for me again. I knew you'd understand. We'll have an open relationship. I continued. Starting now. Both of us. His smile flickered. Equal opportunity. I said, yes. He said carefully. Exactly. Though, you're so busy with work? And you're not really the type to... To what? He swallowed. Nothing. I just mean, theoretically. Both of us. Theoretically. That was the part he thought I missed. He imagined himself drinking wine with Stella after pottery class, while I sat at home folding napkins for a wedding he was already poisoning. He thought I would be grateful. He still wanted to marry me at all. He thought I would accept crumbs and call them modern love. I smiled. Sounds fair. That night, after he fell asleep beside me, like he hadn't just cracked our future down the middle, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I waited for the grief to come. But instead, something colder moved through me. Not revenge. Not yet. Recognition. The next morning, while Mason went to brunch with his growth circle friends, I reopened my dormant dating profiles. If we were playing this game, we were both playing. I uploaded one new photo. Simple. Black dress. Soft lighting. My hair loose over one shoulder. Within an hour, messages started coming in. Some were boring. Some were creepy. Some were predictable. Then I saw Cole Bennett. 28. Mason's friend from the gym. We had always gotten along. He was kind. Funny in a dry way. The type of man who listened before answering. At a barbecue, I overheard him tell Mason, "You're lucky. Cassandra has her life together." Mason had laughed and said, "Yeah. She's stable." At the time, I thought stable was a compliment. Now I knew better. I saw Cole at the gym that Saturday morning. Between sets, towel around his neck, eyebrows lifting when he spotted me. "Yes," he said. "How's wedding planning?" I took a sip of water. "Complicated." He frowned. "That sounds ominous." Mason asked for an open relationship last night. Cole stared at me. 4 months before the wedding. Exactly. He did what? I gave him the clean version. Mason's speech. The ultimatum. The autonomy. The life's possibilities. Cole's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to something like anger. "And you're okay?" "I'm exploring my options," I said. He studied me for a second. Then I added, "Actually, do you want to grab coffee after this? Catch up?" He hesitated. Not because he didn't want to, because unlike Mason, Cole understood consequences. Then he smiled a little. "You know what, yeah. Let's do it." Coffee became lunch. Lunch became a walk through the farmer's market, where the air smelled like peaches, bread, and basil. Cole made me laugh, in a way I hadn't laughed in months. Not loudly, not performatively, just easily. He asked questions and waited for the answers. He didn't call me controlling. He didn't call me unevolved. He didn't make me feel like love was a trap he was trying to escape. Near the flower stall, Cole lifted his coffee cup toward mine and said, "To life's possibilities?" I almost choked, laughing. He posted a photo of our cups later. Great catching up with an old friend. No hearts. No flirting. No scandal. Just enough. That evening, Amir, 30, one of Mason's book club friends, messaged me. "Saw you're embracing new relationship dynamics. Good for you. Drink sometime Sunday." I had drinks with Amir. He was getting over his own breakup, and we commiserated over cocktails and bad decisions He posted a story, tagged me, by Sunday night. Paga. 27. One of Mason's yoga friends who had always been quietly flirty at parties asked if I wanted dinner Monday. I said yes. Monday morning. My phone exploded before my coffee was done. Mason stormed into the kitchen at 7:00 a.m. Phone in hand. Hair. Messy. Eyes wild. What the hell is this? He shoved the screen in my face. Cole's Instagram story. Us smiling near the farmer's market. I flipped my eggs. Coffee with a friend. And this? He swiped hard. Amir's cocktail story. Drinks with a friend. And Parker said you're having dinner tonight. Dinner with a friend. His face twisted. Want some eggs? Mason. He actually stomped his foot. What are you doing? I turned with a spatula still in my hand. Exploring connections. Being open to life's possibilities. You know, what we agreed to. We didn't agree to this. To what? Dating. I tilted my head. That is literally what an open relationship is. Not with my friends. There it was. Your friends are off limits, I asked. Mason stared at me like I had asked whether fire was hot. Obviously. Was that in the rules you gave me? You didn't need rules for that. Everyone knows you don't date your partner's friends. Everyone likes Stella, I asked. Didn't she tell you jealousy is just fear wearing a mask? His face went red. That's different. How? Because it is. I set the spatula down carefully. Mason. You asked for an open relationship. You said freedom. Exploration. Autonomy. Now I'm doing exactly what you demanded. You're doing this to hurt me. I'm doing this because you gave me an ultimatum. He grabbed his phone and started typing, like the screen had personally betrayed him. I'm calling Cole. This is unacceptable. Cool. I said. I'm having breakfast with him tomorrow. You can talk to him then. His head snapped up. What? We really connected. Might be something there. For a second, he looked genuinely frightened. Not heartbroken. Not remorseful. Frightened that the door he opened swung both ways. You can't be serious. Dead serious. This open thing was a great idea. Really opened my eyes to what's out there. He stormed out. But the text started immediately. We need to talk about boundaries. This isn't what I meant. You're purposely misunderstanding. Cole is off limits. Answer me. Cassandra. At work. I replied once, following your communication style. Keeping things light and open. That afternoon, my friend Natalie called me, Cass. Mason is losing his mind in the group chat. What did you do? Took him up on his open relationship offer. Natalie was silent for 2 seconds. Then she burst out laughing. He's saying you're weaponizing ethical non-monogamy. I'm just evolving. Natalie. Growing. Not limiting my potential. You are terrifying. I learned from the best. But that night, Mason came home prepared. He walked in holding printed pages like a man arriving at court. What is that? I asked. Rules. Rules. For ethical non-monogamy. He placed them on the counter between us. 1. No dating each other's friends. 2. No posting on social media. 3. No dates on weekends, reserved for the primary partner. 4. All dates must be approved in advance. 5. Either partner has veto power over any connection. These are standard. He said. Standard where? He blinked. Did your growth circle friend write these for you? They're from the Ethical Non-Monogamy Foundation. I Googled it in front of him. Nothing. Mason. You can't make up rules after the fact. You said open relationship or no wedding. I agreed. Now you want to control who I see and when. It's about respect. I looked at the wedding invitations still sitting on the table. Respect. You threatened our wedding to get your way. Where was respect then? I was being honest about my needs. And I'm being honest about mine. I need to explore these connections. Isn't that what you said? Don't you respect my autonomy? His fingers tightened around the pages. This isn't how it's supposed to work. How is it supposed to work? He opened his mouth, closed it. I waited. Finally. He snapped. You're supposed to be more selective. I am being selective. I'm selecting people I connect with. My friends, great men. I said. You have good taste in friends. Tuesday morning. Cole texted me. Mason called me screaming for 20 minutes. Still on for breakfast. I wrote back, if you're comfortable. No pressure. His reply came fast. Oh. I'm coming. This is the most interesting thing to happen all year. Breakfast was illuminating. We met at a small cafe near the gym. The kind with chipped blue mugs and cinnamon rolls under glass domes. Cole looked tired but amused. He's been talking about this for months. He said after I told him everything. What do you mean? The open relationship thing. Stella. The whole spiritual freedom speech. My stomach sank. Even though part of me already knew, Cole leaned back. He showed us her photos. Said she understood him, in a way you didn't. I laughed once. Sharp and humorless. Of course. He kept saying, you'd never really find out, because you're not the jealous type. Too trusting. Too trusting. Another word I had mistaken for love. What was the plan? Cole looked almost sorry. He said he'd bring up openness before the wedding. He figured you'd be so relieved he still wanted to marry you that you'd agree to anything. The cafe noise faded. Forks against plates. Steam hissing from the espresso machine. Someone laughing near the window. And me? Sitting there with the ugly little truth between my hands. He played himself. I said. Cole studied me. What's funny, he built this entire plan, thinking I'd be the grateful, boring fiancé, while he dated around. He didn't expect me to actually participate. Are you? Cole asked quietly. Actually participating? Or is this revenge? I looked at him for a long moment. Honestly, it started as calling his bluff. And now I'm realizing, maybe I've been settling for someone who would threaten our wedding just to date someone else. Cole nodded slowly. He's always been entitled. We love him. But Mason thinks the world bends when he gets uncomfortable. What else has he said? Cole winced. How much time do you have? That was the first moment I understood something bigger than betrayal was happening. This wasn't one impulsive conversation. This wasn't cold feet. Mason had been auditioning a new life behind my back. Then trying to cast me as the silent, loyal woman, waiting in the corner while he explored. Wednesday. He tried love bombing. I came home to candles. Dinner. And Mason, wearing the navy shirt, I once said, made his eyes look softer. Hey. Bob. He said. Voice warm and careful. I thought we could have a romantic evening. Just us. I set down my gym bag. Can't. Meeting Parker for trivia night. The mask slipped for 1 second. Then he smiled. Oh. Well. Maybe after, maybe. Don't wait up. Yes. Sweetheart. I think we need to reconnect. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. How so? We haven't been focusing on us. The wedding is in 4 months. 3 months and 3 weeks. I said. If it's still happening? He froze. What do you mean? If. I walked into the kitchen. Poured a glass of water. And watched him follow me. Well. You said open relationship or no wedding? I'm exploring what open means for me. It might change things. Change what things? My perspective on marriage. On what I want. His voice sharpened. Are you threatening me? I'm being honest about my journey. Isn't that what you wanted, honesty growth? Not like this. No. Then how? His face twisted. You're supposed to support my growth. While mine stays static, you don't need growth. He snapped. You're already safe. Predictable. Stable. He flinched as soon as he said it, because those were not new words. Those were words he had used before. Somewhere else. With someone else. When he thought I would never hear them. I didn't mean that. Cole mentioned you did. I said. Multiple times. To multiple people. The color drained from his face. Cole is lying. A mí confirme dit. So did Parker. You're turning my friends against me. I'm having conversations with interesting men. They're sharing perspectives. Opening my eyes. To what? To the fact that my boyfriend has been planning to cheat on me with Pottery Stella for months. Silence. Beautiful. Damning silence. Then his mouth moved. But nothing came out. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone. Let me refresh your memory. Cole had sent screenshots. Mason's own messages in their group chat. Stella's name over and over. How beautiful she was. How free she made him feel. How Cassandra would never understand, unless he framed it carefully. How he just needed to get me on board before the wedding. Mason stared at the screen like it was a weapon. That was private. So was our monogamous relationship? I said. Until you decided it wasn't. He recovered quickly. Because Mason always did when victimhood was available. Fine. Yes. I found someone attractive. That's why I was honest with you, instead of cheating. You wanted permission to cheat. It's not cheating if we agree. Did we agree? Or did you threaten me? I gave you a choice. Ultimatum. I said. The word is ultimatum. You're twisting everything. No. I'm seeing everything clearly for the first time. Then the tears came. Not sad tears. Angry tears. Frustrated tears. The kind a child cries when the toy in his hand is taken away before he gets to break it. This isn't fair. He said. You're ruining everything. I'm participating in the relationship structure you demanded. With my friends? They're lovely people. By the way, really supportive. Amir, especially. His ex tried to force an open relationship too. Stop talking to them. No. I'm telling you to stop. And I'm telling you no. Open relationship. Remember, my autonomy. His eyes went cold. And that was when I knew the next move would not be pleading. It would be punishment. Thursday morning proved I was right. I woke up to 76 text messages. Not from one person, from Mason. Every notification carried the same frantic energy. He had gone digging through years of old conversations with his friends. Screenshotting private complaints they had made about former girlfriends. Difficult jobs. Family arguments. Insecurities. Bad decisions. Anything that could make them look selfish or dishonest if it were stripped of context. The final message simply read, "See, these are the men you're choosing over me." I stared at my phone for a long moment. Then, I did the simplest thing imaginable. I took screenshots of every message Mason had sent me. I opened a group chat with Cole, Amir, and Parker. Heads up. Mason is sending me your old private messages trying to make you all look terrible. The replies arrived almost instantly. Cole, he what? Amir, you've got to be kidding me. Parker, I'm done. Are you free tonight? That evening we met at a quiet wine bar downtown. None of them looked surprised anymore. Only tired. Mason's completely unraveling. Cole said after we ordered, he demanded, we stop speaking to you. Amir added, he actually threatened to uninvite us from the wedding. Parker said with a laugh. I took a slow sip of wine. What wedding? All three of them looked at me. I'm calling it off tomorrow. Silence settled over the table. Finally, Cole asked softly. You're serious? Completely. Amir leaned forward. This isn't just because of the open relationship anymore. Is it? I shook my head. No. I looked down at the glass in my hand, before meeting their eyes again. This is about discovering who Mason really is. The open relationship wasn't the betrayal. The manipulation was. He threatened our future to force me into something I never wanted. Then, the moment I accepted his rules, he tried rewriting them. When that didn't work, he attacked all of you. He doesn't want freedom. He wants control. Parker nodded slowly. That sounds exactly like him. I looked around the table. You all knew. They exchanged uncomfortable glances. Finally, Cole answered. We knew pieces. What kind of pieces? He sighed. The kind you ignore, because you've been friends with someone forever. Amir rubbed the back of his neck. Mason always expected everyone to adjust around him. If dinner wasn't where he wanted, We changed restaurants. If vacation wasn't what he wanted, we changed destinations. If someone disagreed, he'd sulk until people apologized. Parker smiled without humor. It was honestly easier to let him win. I thought about the last 4 years, how many restaurants I had switched, how many weekends I had rearranged, how many arguments had ended with me apologizing simply because I wanted peace. The pattern had always been there. I had just called it compromise. Cole looked at me carefully. Can I tell you something? Please. The night you got engaged, Mason joked that marriage would finally make you stop questioning him. I blinked. He said that. He laughed afterward. But now? Cole shrugged. I'm not sure it was a joke. The table fell quiet again. Then Parker chuckled. You know what this reminds me of? What? Mason's 30th birthday. Cole groaned immediately. Oh. Don't remind me. I frowned. I wasn't there. You had that conference in Chicago? Amir said. So, you missed the circus? Parker laughed. He booked the most expensive rooftop restaurant in the city. Then complained everyone wasn't contributing enough toward his dinner. Cole added, he actually handed us spreadsheets. Amir nearly spit out his wine. And don't forget the dress code. I raised an eyebrow. Dress code. He sent everyone photos of luxury outfits. Said he wanted the group photos to look expensive. I stared. He actually did that. Oh. It gets better. Parker said. He rejected one guy's shoes because they weren't designer. The stories kept coming. Vacation meltdowns. Birthday ultimatums. Friendships ended over tiny disagreements. Group chats full of passive-aggressive messages. Years of behavior people had accepted, simply because arguing with Mason required too much energy. By the end of dinner, something inside me had shifted completely. I wasn't grieving the wedding anymore. I was grieving the woman I had been. The woman who thought patience could eventually become love. Friday morning. I woke up calm. Almost frighteningly calm. I called the wedding venue first. The coordinator recognized my voice immediately. Cassandra, final menu meeting next week. It won't be necessary. A pause. I'm canceling the wedding. She spoke gently after that. The venue deposit was partially refundable. The florist had already ordered some specialty flowers. The photographer would keep half the deposit, but wished me the best. Each phone call felt strangely lighter. By the 5th cancellation, I could finally breathe. Mason still had no idea. He had left early that morning for breakfast with his growth circle. Perfect. I packed quietly. No dramatic throwing clothes into boxes. No smashing photographs. Just efficiency. My books. My work laptop. The quilt my grandmother had sewn before she passed away. The framed picture of my parents. The coffee mug Mason always mocked because it was chipped. Every item reminded me that this apartment had slowly become less mine while I was trying to make it ours. I loaded everything into my car. Then I sat at the kitchen table with one sheet of paper. I wrote slowly. Mason. You were right. People shouldn't restrict themselves or ignore their potential. After experiencing the open relationship you insisted we have, I realized something important. My future doesn't include marrying someone who uses threats to get what he wants. The wedding is canceled. The vendors have been notified. You wanted freedom to explore your connection with Stella. You have that freedom now. Permanently. I'll be staying with Natalie, while our attorneys discuss the remaining financial arrangements and wedding deposits. Thank you for opening my eyes. Not to ethical non-monogamy, to the kind of partner I never want again. Someone who mistakes manipulation for honesty. Someone who confuses control with love. Take care. Cassandra. I read it once, folded it neatly, placed it beside his spare apartment key. Then I walked out. I didn't look back. Not because it didn't hurt. Because looking back would have implied there was still something worth saving. There wasn't. By the time I reached Natalie's house, my phone had already begun vibrating. 1 missed call. Then 5. Then 12. Then 20. Eventually, 53. I never answered. Instead, I made tea. Sat on Natalie's porch and watched the sunset while my phone continued lighting up beside me. For the first time in months, the silence around me finally felt peaceful. By the time Mason found my letter, he had apparently gone through every emotion imaginable in less than an hour. My phone filled with messages. Cassandra. Answer your phone. This has to be a joke. You can't cancel our wedding without talking to me. I called the venue. They said, you already canceled everything. You're having some kind of breakdown. Please come home so we can fix this. This is emotional abuse. I'm calling your mother. A few minutes later, another message appeared. Your mom said she understands. What did you tell her? Then another. Stella means nothing to me. We can be monogamous. I'll delete her number. Another. Please. We've invested 4 years. Don't throw away our future over one misunderstanding. I'll go to therapy. I'll do couples counseling. I've already looked up appointments. Please. Cassandra. This is because of Cole and Amir and Parker. Isn't it? They're manipulating you. They're laughing at you. They just want to hurt me. I read every message once. Then I locked my phone. Natalie looked over from the kitchen. You okay? I nodded. I think so. You don't sound convinced. I've spent 4 years trying to keep him happy. I smiled weakly. I don't actually know what peace feels like yet. She squeezed my shoulder. You'll learn. Saturday afternoon, Mason changed strategies. Instead of calling me, he started calling everyone else. My mother, my father, my older sister, even my uncle. According to Mason, I was having a mental breakdown. Apparently 3 predatory men had manipulated me into destroying my own engagement. My mother called me laughing. Actually laughing. Honey, she said, barely catching her breath. Mason just spent 25 minutes explaining that you've joined some kind of anti-relationship movement. I laughed too. What did you tell him? I asked why a healthy relationship required an ultimatum. And he changed the subject. I was quiet for a moment. Mom? Yes. Why didn't you ever tell me you thought something was wrong? She sighed. Because you loved him. I thought he'd change. I know. You always said he was wonderful. I said he seemed wonderful. There was a pause. Those aren't the same thing. I leaned back in my chair. Did Dad know? Oh. Your father and I had private conversations. About what? About how Mason always spoke for you. I closed my eyes. He answered questions directed at you. He interrupted you. He always had to be the smartest person in every room. We kept hoping you'd notice. You could have warned me. Honey. Would you have listened? The painful answer arrived immediately. No. Sunday brought another wave. Members of Mason's Men's Growth Circle began messaging me. Long paragraphs about emotional evolution, about enlightened relationships, about how I had weaponized openness. One man insisted I had violated the sacred principles of ethical non-monogamy. I answered only once. Mason gave me an ultimatum. I accepted. He became angry when I participated equally. That isn't ethical. That's manipulation. No one replied after that. Then came the biggest twist. Stella. It turned out Mason's fantasy had never been real. Monday afternoon, Amir called me. You need to hear this. What happened? Mason showed up at pottery class. I frowned. And? He confessed everything to Stella. What did she say? Amir actually laughed. She looked confused. I waited. Then she introduced him to her boyfriend. I sat upright. Boyfriend. They've been together for almost 3 years. For several seconds I couldn't speak. Amir continued. Apparently, Mason thought she had been flirting with him. She thought he was just another friendly classmate. What happened? He completely lost it. According to people who were there, Mason insisted she had been sending signals, that she understood him, that she inspired him to rethink relationships. Stella looked horrified. Her boyfriend stepped between them. The instructor asked Mason to leave. When he refused, security escorted him out. He was later removed from the class permanently. I slowly lowered the phone. The woman who had almost destroyed my engagement had never actually been waiting for him at all. The entire fantasy had existed only inside Mason's head. A week later, an email arrived. Subject: Moving forward together. I opened it. Dear Cassandra. After taking time to reflect, I recognize that perhaps I didn't communicate my needs as clearly as I could have. I am willing to forgive your overreaction, so we can move forward together. However, I do have several conditions. You must immediately stop all contact with Cole, Amir, and Parker. We should resume wedding planning. You owe my family an apology for embarrassing them. We should begin couples counseling with someone specializing in male emotional development. Finally, I need you to acknowledge your role in creating this misunderstanding. Love conquers all. Mason. I read it twice. Then I forwarded it directly to my attorney. The only word I added was evidence. A few minutes later, Mason emailed again. Is that really all you're going to say? I answered. No. Nothing else. Just, no. He called immediately. I declined. He texted. You're throwing away the best thing that ever happened to you. I finally replied. No. I'm walking away from the worst. He sent one last message. You'll regret this when you're alone. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then, I typed. I wasn't alone while I was with you. I was lonely. There's a difference. He never answered again. Months have passed now. Mason moved back in with his parents. From what I've heard, he still posts long speeches online about toxic women who fear emotionally evolved men. His audience gets smaller every month. As for his former friends, they're still in my life. Not romantically. That was never the point. Cole started seeing someone wonderful a few weeks after everything happened. Amir accepted a promotion and relocated across the country. Parker volunteers every Saturday teaching teenagers photography. The four of us still meet for dinner occasionally. Sometimes the conversation drifts back to the wedding that never happened. Sometimes we laugh. Sometimes we shake our heads. Mostly, we're grateful. One evening, Parker smiled and said, Mason still tells people you're secretly dating all three of us. Cole nearly choked on his drink. That would be exhausting. Amir laughed. I think we're all just happier, without unnecessary drama. I smiled into my coffee. So, I'm living in my own apartment now. It's quiet. No podcasts echoing through the walls. No lectures about personal evolution. No ultimatums disguised as honesty. I'm not dating anyone. Not because I'm afraid. Because for the first time in years, I'm learning how peaceful life can be when no one is constantly asking me to shrink myself for their comfort. The money that would have paid for the honeymoon paid instead for a solo hiking trip through Iceland. Years ago, I suggested visiting glaciers. Mason called it boring nature stuff. Standing alone beneath a waterfall, surrounded by black volcanic cliffs, an endless sky, I realized something. Freedom had never been about dating other people. Freedom was waking up every morning without wondering what version of the truth I would have to accept, just to keep someone beside me. A few days ago, one final message appeared on my phone. I hope you're happy. I looked out my apartment window before answering myself. Not him. I am happier than I have been in years. Funny how quickly life begins to heal once you stop negotiating with someone who mistakes love for leverage.